So I decided to do my last ethics video on chapter 26. It's about Astoria Gellett. She was a student. She took a news and writing editing course that she wasn't really keen to take, and then she ended up loving it, and it got her pretty excited about local news. She enjoyed the process of telling true stories about people she met and began carrying a voice recorder with her kind of wherever she went and just started recording everything. When that class came to an end, she wanted to continue honing the skills that she learned in that class. So what she did was she joined with a photographer who was working on a project that involved photographing African American businesses on a street that was economically challenged street in Savannah, Georgia. So the photographer developed contacts in that community because she was working for an all-black church in the neighborhood. Gellett's role was to conduct interviews with business owners, record the interviews, and record ambient sound of the businesses. Her first assignment was at a barber shop, and this 23-year-old man was talking about how most of the kids his age grew up without fathers. So the barber shop was a place that they could come and go to the people there for kind of like male guidance. She really enjoyed the interview. It was great, but she felt very out of place. Her and the photographer were the only white people there, and they were also the only women. So she was uncomfortable pretty quickly and became very aware of the differences in their lives. She felt like she was kind of taking advantage of them. She remembered a quote from a documentary she had watched in her class, which was, "A camera is like a gun." And that kind of line stuck with her as she told those stories that were super personal and those personal thoughts from her subjects. The tension between public information and private space was something that she hadn't thought super hard about, but she began considering very carefully when she started working on that project. She grew up in Alabama and went to an all-white private Christian school. She volunteered at the orphanage that was next door, which was predominantly African American children. And even though she herself was adopted, she began to notice a difference in her life being an orphan and their lives being orphans. So she wondered, when thinking back on that, compared to how she felt in the barbershop, she wondered what right she had to tell the stories of these people when she was so far removed. And she didn't believe that she really had any authority to tell their stories, but also didn't think that she should just be reporting on middle-aged white people or white women. So she was really conflicted. So what she did was she ended up going to her professor, and she told her professor of the differences that she had noticed and kind of wondered if she should be doing what she's doing. And her professor stated that her being aware of the differences between them was a positive step towards portraying her subjects appropriately and with respect. She was honest with her subjects about her work, and they agreed to be interviewed. As long as she was portraying the subjects and situation accurately and with humanity, she should have been fine. And after that, she kind of saw it as her duty as to be the messenger, because they said that while everyone has a story to tell, not everyone has the podium. So what they decided to do was, in the gallery, instead of having interviews playing within the rooms where all the photos were, they just played the conversations. She recorded the conversations that were had in those places, so it kind of felt like how you would feel if you were actually there. And by doing that, she gave them a voice and wasn't interjecting her voice into them telling their own story, essentially, which I think was great. I think one way that this has definitely made me more ethical, I feel like if I was her in her place, I would have been worrying about what I was saying and if I was portraying them correctly, the same things that she was worrying about. But I don't know if I would have come up with the idea to just not say anything, because I always try to, be a champion for other people and try to help other people. But I now realize that maybe not speaking and letting other people tell their own stories and stuff like that it can be the way to go sometimes, especially in a situation like that. So